Welcome to Friday. Look, we have a cat in the house. It's not my cat, but it's my friend Devin's cat. Her name is Tuna, and she will be staying with us through Monday. Dad's on a trip, so I'm the babysitter. Tuna, do you want to come say hi? Oh, she left. Let's go see what Tuna's up to. Tuna. Kitty. You good? You enjoying life? Do you want some food? I think it's mealtime. All right, we're gonna prep some food for Tuna so she can eat her lunch. And so that's where we'll start. And then we'll make some chocolate pudding because I have so much milk and I'm seeing friends on Sunday and we're gonna go eat. And I promised everyone I'll bring them some pudding to take home. So, Tuna, like every hot girl out there, has stomach issues. So her diet is Hill's prescription diet. She's having digestive care with chicken. Yum. I'm gonna give her a nice little chunk. And we try not to give her too much food because then she throws it up. That might be too much food. So let's go a little bit less. I would rather, when I'm home, feed her a little less frequently, or a little more frequently, but with less food. So that much food, and we'll warm it up a little bit. Just like 5 seconds so that it's not fridge temp. Okay, and we mush it. And I test temperature. Hey, look who's here. You ready for food? She's very quiet. She's not a little bitch like Fred. Gave me no trouble whatsoever. I slept through the night perfectly. She's a brave little one. She was out of her carrier in 2 hours and was already exploring all over. It took Fred literally like 2 weeks to want to get out of the closet. And with Tuna, she's just like, all right, cool, give me some food. Yeah. So hopefully not every cat who comes through this apartment will make life living hell for me. Just Fred. You know, I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about how much you can love someone and realize with time and distance that they were not the best fit for you. And it's really hard to acknowledge that because I think the emotional bond and the kind of psychological and spiritual investment you've made in someone can make it feel so loaded and connected. But man, Fred was not a good cat for this apartment. Um, and I loved him, and I still love him, but clearly he's happier with Aaron. So I also think about this in terms of not just cat, house, and human compatibility, but also with all sorts of relationships. I have no resolution, but just thoughts passing through. Hi, Nez. You home on a Friday, Nez? You done? You want a little bit of water? Tuna. Eat, girl. You got it. Oh, you're not gonna eat it? Alright, she'll come back to it. I think she's a little sick of her little special diet food. But we'll leave it out for you. Tuna, you doing good? Doing okay? Alright. Back to our humanly activities then. So today we're going to try to make a chocolate pudding. Yes, Tuna is very chill. And I'm going to look it up. A lot of chocolate pudding recipes don't have egg yolk in it. So I'm going to try to make one that doesn't have egg yolk in it because I don't really want to separate out any more eggs today. I'm really lazy right now. And I also don't want to put actual chocolate in the pudding. I just want to see what we can make with just milk and sugar and cocoa. So this recipe, spend with pennies. I'll drop it. Yeah, hell yeah, take your vacation. I might put a little bit of cayenne in Aaron's jar, but I think for everyone else, we'll just go normal. So that's what we're making today, and we're gonna make sure all the milk is still good because sometimes not the case. All right, this says that it's gonna yield 8 servings, and it uses 4.5 cups of milk, which is great. You want to use up all the milk. I have a lot of milk. Oops. 4.5 cups. What if I use 5 cups of milk? What if? In a saucepan, combine sugar, cocoa powder, salt, and cornstarch. Mix well. Add in cold milk. Whisk until combined. All right. I'm going to reduce the sugar, as you know, because sometimes this shit be too sweet. So this calls for 1.3 cups of sugar. We're gonna go down to 156 grams. That actually sounds too sweet already, so I'm actually gonna take some out, and then we'll put it back in. So I'll start with 100 grams of sugar, all right? And then we're gonna go with, turn this on for you, cocoa. We have 2 kinds of cocoa that we can use. And of course some burlap and barrel cocoa, because we like more kinds of cocoa for that flavor. 2/3 cup of cocoa, huh? Let's see. How many tablespoons is that? 2/3 cup. There's about 16 tablespoons in a cup, so 2/3 of 16 is like 10. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go in with some of this cocoa. And then go in with some of this cocoa. We're going to go in with salt. And cornstarch. 1/3 of a cup of cornstarch. So about 5 tablespoons. So about 40 grams. And then we're going to mix it well and add in our cold milk, which we will add in very gradually. Hi Greece. Hi Philippines. Yeah, I hope it's a good pudding, Nez, but I'll be sure to taste test it before giving it to y'all. And I was thinking that if I don't feel like making yogurt anymore, maybe next week I'll try to make some coffee flavored pudding. That could be delicious, yeah? That one's a no. It's like playing the lottery with grandma's milk these days. Great. I've grown to be a pro at the dairy lottery. Guys, it's been 2 years of this shit, you know? You get really skilled at it. And, like, this one I don't even need to pour out to know that that's bad. It's a skill like any other, okay? All I'm saying is if we go through a zombie apocalypse and you don't have me on your team, you're gonna miss out on some very edible shit. Okay, yes. Who wants me on their apocalypse squad? It's not that the milks are bad. It's that grandma keeps them overnight because she doesn't want to drink them. Or she wants me to take it home. So grandma's like, you know, keeping milk out at room temp in a well-heated space because they can't let elderly freeze. And of course, milk at room temp for 12 hours goes bad sometimes. Yeah, but these are all good. No worries. Probably should have used a bigger pot though. Yeah, I have constant paranoia too. It's fine. We'll balance each other out. And also, that is a skill that we can work on. Do you understand? Like, this is something that I had really a huge amount of problem to convince the other person. In a relationship, you will come up against issues. You will come up against incompatibilities. You will come up against disagreements. Ultimately, though, what it boils down to, and this has been what I've been coaching myself through in the past 2 weeks, ultimately it comes down to, do you like me? Do you like me enough to talk about these differences? Do you like me enough to work through these differences? Do you find me tolerable and acceptable at a very foundational level? And if you don't, that's when the relationship ends. And if you do, then you try out all the methods of making it work. Because I do believe that every problem has a solution if you want to solve it. What we're seeing now with Palestine, what we're seeing now with all the other kind of infrastructural injustices, is not that we don't have the resources to fix it. We have the resources. We have the resources to keep the problem going. We're manufacturing the problem instead of manufacturing solutions. That's what Palestine has made it very clear to us, I hope. So, in relationships, as in politics, as in everything, and yes, I am a liberal arts major, so like it makes sense that I'm starting to see connections in everything in life, is that once you decide you want to solve something, you can find that solution. And if you can't find the ideal solution that you started wanting in the beginning, you can find other alternatives that will still be better than the status quo, even if you don't reach your ideal solution that you started with in the beginning. However, if you don't have the determination and the actual like internal motivation to solve it, then yeah, the problem will just keep existing and or expanding and or worsening. And in this case, the problem is worsening because people want it to worsen. We see now that there are Israeli citizens blocking aid trucks from reaching Gaza. You know, it's just like, that's what they're doing. Either they're fully convinced that every single Gazan is a terrorist, or they really just want to kill everyone in Gaza, which is seemingly what the state is doing. And they'll manufacture excuses and storylines and, you know, justifications and rationalizations of why they're doing what they're doing. But at the end of the day, you are just killing people slowly and quickly through bombing, through starvation, through disease, through withdrawing all resources. So yeah, I think about Palestine. I think about our situation in America, you know, people not having health care, people having student loans for the rest of their lives, people being stuck in jobs that they don't love, but they need it for benefits. And I think about how this all relates to our interpersonal connections and relationships as well. How these infrastructural difficulties add stress onto all of our lives and make us unable to have time and space and peace of mind to like sort out our internal connections with each other, and how that kind of alienation from your labor and your product feeds into the alienation that we have with each other, because instead of focusing on how can we strengthen this bond of community and relationship, we're now focused on how do I not die? And it's by keeping us at this most basic level of survival that we are unable to imagine anything beyond eating and living at a very basic biological level. I don't know what happened with the attacks in New York with the Angels group. I haven't heard of this yet. So much shit has been going down in New York. Like Columbia University has been cracking down on students protesting. They sent NYPD in to like violently arrest students protesting. And it's been like 2 weeks since former IOF soldiers who are now current Columbia students released skunk attacks on pro-Palestine student protesters, and they have not been punished. They have not been charged. There's no support for students who are speaking out for Palestine, and it's just like becoming clear by the day where all of our institutions stand. And if this doesn't make you want to say fuck it all, I don't know what will, because not only do you see other people dying, not only do you see a genocide, but you see us dying too. You protesters, Americans, Palestinian Americans getting stabbed and violently attacked. And all the while, all we're concerned about is accusations of anti-Semitism. But what we're seeing is irreversible violence done on Palestinians. Whether they are still in Palestine or whether they are here in diaspora. So I have started posting less about Palestine on my Instagram, not because I've stopped caring, but because I've realized that this is not really going anywhere, because it's been 4.5 months now, basically. Or 4 months, actually. Yeah, October 7th to February 9th. And if people don't see what the things are now, after 4 months of this shit, then they will never see it because they're refusing to see it. And right now I'm just concentrating my efforts on IRL actions when I can. I'm still dealing with extreme fatigue. So, navigating how to honor my own health and balance it out with honoring my spiritual health. Which is very much tied to observing all of this shit and realizing all of this shit that exists in our world. It's just very, I mean, I'm meeting folks who care, and it encourages me to keep being engaged, but it is very hard to see, like, how much we have to resist and fight against just to, like, be able to protest in peace. We're just walking and shouting and carrying posters and flags, and demanding justice, and that is being repressed too. So, all right, we're going to put this on medium heat, and we're going to keep stirring until it reaches a boil, and then we're going to boil it for 1 minute until the cornstarch is thickened, and then we're going to stir it in some butter and some vanilla. And I think what I want to put in here today is this really old vanilla, if I still have it. Do I still have you? Oh, maybe I don't have you anymore. Never mind. I thought I did, but it would appear I don't. Let me see what else I can put in here. Vanilla. Oh, I have you. Okay, really old vanilla beans that I had from my test kitchen days, so it's been a while. This is Best Buy, November 19, 2022, but vanilla doesn't expire. It just dries and cracks like this. So we're just gonna put a little piece of it in there and let it soak. Let it soak into it. Let it do its thing. Fred is not here. more than 40 years, but yeah, I guess so. 40 years since resistance. Organized resistance. How do I see myself happy? I am happy now. I've been asking myself this question, and I've been asked this question by everyone else. And this is a question that I've asked myself over and over again since the death of my mom, is, am I happy? Am I living my life in a way that aligns with who I want to be and what I want to do in this life? And as someone who has trained myself maybe out of depression, or maybe out of hopelessness, or maybe out of justified cynicism since high school about being in this world, in this society, not seeing the logic to a lot of the ways in which we've structured society, this is something that I ask myself constantly when I make decisions. How do I see myself happy? I would say that this is my happiness. This is my happiness, to be paying attention to what I feel, to be responding to what I feel. I was just telling someone that I think this past year I've learned how to observe myself cry, which has been a very freeing experience, where I think before I used to cry and judge myself for it, and automatically the mindset would be like, why the fuck am I crying? This is so embarrassing. I'm so loud and annoying, and this is like slobbery and messy, and wow, what's wrong with me, you know? And now I'm just like, oh, I'm crying. My body is feeling like crying. So I'm just going to let it cry, let it make its noise, feel the sensation of the cry traveling through my body. I'm going to let my mouth let out any guttural sounds that is traveling through. And I'm just going to observe it. I'm going to be watching it like I watch a movie, or listen to it like I listen to a song. And I'm going to try to just take it for what it is and let it pass through. And I'm going to try to, maybe, if I have it in me, hear what's going on. Hear what the cry is saying. See where it's coming from. See what it wants me to do. How it wants me to react. And kind of developing that relationship between my inner child and my inner parent, you know, as the pop psych terms go. And trying to just communicate with myself and be like, yo, I can see you're not feeling good. Let's just sit here until you feel good at having expressed what you need to express. And then if you feel like it, you know, maybe we can sit here until we start sensing what's really hurting you. And so lately, in the last 2 weeks, obviously I've been very depressed, saddened, heartbroken over the ending of a relationship. And it has been a way for me to observe myself experience upset. And this is a skill that I think I've built over 2 years of visiting grandma every day. At first resisting what it meant to take care of someone who's in her 90s. Resisting her acting out, resisting her reality, resisting her habits, very much in the same way that my mom resisted all of grandma's habits and tried to correct her and fix her and make her more cultured or courteous. And then in the second year, I was like, oh yeah, you're doing exactly what mom's doing. You're doing exactly what made mom tired. You're going against the traffic of grandma. And she's 90 plus. You can't change her. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge the fact that she makes you fucking angry and pissed, and that you feel fucking hopeless and sad, and you feel like you don't want to be taking care of her, and you feel like you can't wait for her to die. And let yourself feel all of those feelings of being trapped and pressured and stressed and anxious and unhappy and heartbroken because mom's dead and she's not here anymore, and you can't ask her anything. And just feel it. And so I think these past 2 years have been me gradually making the journey of like digesting my own grief and staying afloat for myself and for grandma, and figuring out where I can be, that I can help support grandma to the utmost of my abilities without burning myself out, which is what mom did. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to burn ourselves out. And we're also not going to fight death, right? So this year, I think I have to start turning more towards the lane of death coaching. Not to say that grandma's gonna die. She's still so healthy, right? She has so much strength in her physically, and she has so many demands, and she gets verbally aggressive. But this is the year where I start talking to her more frankly and directly about what it means to die. Asking her questions about how she's feeling that day. doing breathing exercises to help her release some stress, which is good for me too, because it's a daily reminder for me to relieve stress from my body. But also to tell her that it's okay to die, that this is all normal, that it's okay to feel sadness, that it's okay to feel grief, that it's okay to feel like you're alone in this foreign country where nobody understands you and you have no one else except me. And, you know, I won't try to fight her intensely on days where she insists that the planes are coming for her to take her back to Beijing. But if I ever do talk to her, I have to restate the fact that if she's not willing to fly for 18 hours, then, you know, we can't go back to China. And most of the time when I tell her we can't go back to China, she'll say, but I can't stay here, you know, I poop my pants and I have to wait for someone. And they're not all gonna help me, only this one specific person helped me, so like, he's good and everyone else is bad, and I can't stay here because everyone else is bad. But that's just grandma's brain doing that, because ultimately who helped her was nursing staff. They're just short-staffed, so she has to wait. In her mind, if she goes home, there will be someone to wait on her constantly. My uncle, my aunt, and yeah, that is true. They'll probably give her more prompt attention and prompt rescue and prompt, you know, support when she needs it. But that also means that supporting her in that very immediate way is going to bring on a lot of exhaustion and demands on my uncle and his family dynamics. So not only do we have to navigate how to take care of the aging person who is closer and closer to death, we also have to do it in tandem with taking care of ourselves. I am very, very, very utilitarian when it comes to this aspect of deciding how much to give and how much we can give and how much we should give. Because when my mom passed away, my dad, my uncle, everyone who has blood ties with me basically told me, take care of yourself, do not let grandma override your own well-being. And I agree with that aspect because I know mom would agree too, especially because I still think mom died in part because she was trying to do too much for grandma, too much of what she thought was necessary, but what might have been absolutely unnecessary. Because I think what mom really struggled with was the fact that, you know, sometimes we just have to allow ourselves to die. And mom was trying to keep grandma alive by feeding her vegetables she didn't want to eat. Guess what? Grandma hasn't eaten vegetables in 2.5 years. She's still fucking healthy as fuck for 96. So, you know, yeah, the troubles will just come. You can't really avoid them. So instead of trying to control everything, I am trying to let go of everything. That's easier said than done though, because I think my controlling nature is what contributes to the downfall of a lot of my romantic relationships. So there's a lot of inner work to be done alongside relational work. And this pudding is nice and silky and smooth. Look at that shine. Y'all, she's shiny. Okay, so we're gonna let that boil for a minute more, and then I'm going to take out some butter and a little extra vanilla paste because my friends deserve real vanilla paste as well as a vanilla bean. But we're also going to taste for sweetness right now just to see if it's sweet enough because I did not use all of the sugar in the beginning. So now we will test it. Yeah, Delish loved its poke cakes. Are you Midwestern by any chance? I feel like poke cakes were so big for our Midwestern audience. Look at that. Look at that. Smooth and shiny. Yes. Okay. Not too sweet, but it needs to be slightly sweeter. So I've added in a couple tablespoons more. And pudding will get sweeter as it cools too, because I think heat clouds flavor, and so does cold. Yeah, what is media's obsession with appealing to middle America? I don't know. That was Delicious' whole thing when I joined. And I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of Midwestern moms who really liked me in Budget Eats, but I don't know if I like changed the demographics a little bit in terms of the audience for Delish. But yeah, when I joined the team, everything was about cream cheese, bacon, burger, frying, just like heart disease central basically. And apparently those were the recipes that got the most clicks and views. So I guess media appeals to heartland of America because that's what gets them ad revenue, basically. I mean, why does capitalism do anything, right? Why does capitalism do anything? Just whatever gets the money. Whatever gets capital likes. Good. I like. We also have to find that vanilla bean in there now. We have to fish it out. Or one of my friends will just get a mouthful of vanilla bean. How do I feel about NYT cooking? I feel like they got cool folks on the team and they have a sort of legitimacy that Delish will probably never have, but the New York Times is also very anti-union, as with everything, and after their coverage of Gaza and realizing that, you know, they've never been really journalistically backboned. I don't know. How do I feel about working for them? I don't know, man. Everything in capitalism is fucked up, so I won't feel good about working for them, but I also won't feel the worst working for them. I think if they can be less horrible people, that would make me feel better about working for them, but that's a lot of if and buts. So, you know, am I shooting myself in the foot by saying this on the internet where everybody can see it? Absolutely. Do I care? Not currently, because I don't need that money. Will I in the future? Maybe, but not really. A part of me will always be proud for holding to my values. You know, like, so many of us live under this pressure to appeal to things that we don't align with because they are what feed us. Literally, these are the systems that pay us and keep us alive. But guess what? In the same fell swoop that they keep us alive, they always kill us continuously too. So figuring out where you draw the line for what you're you know, willing to tolerate in terms of how to sustain your survival is a question of privilege for sure. I am holding a certain amount of privilege that I think a lot of people don't have, and I am able to choose who to be paid for by. So I'm not saying you should do this too, I'm just saying this is my choice because I have the ability to choose now. So I don't see why not, you know? If I have the privilege to make the choice, then I should make the choice. And if you don't have the privilege to make the choice, then it's not on you. It's not on you to make that choice. And I don't blame you, and nobody should blame you. We should be blaming the system forever and always. It never does any good to shame anyone individually. That's the whole thing about cancel culture. You're not addressing root causes, you're addressing the individual, who is often just as much a victim of the system as you are. As long as you live within an hour and a half subway ride away from me, I'm happy to share pudding. So, just saying. Ooh. How much time do you have, Pamela? And what do you want to eat? I'll give you all the food recommendations right now if you tell me what you want to eat and how far you're willing to travel within New York City. Okay, butter is in, so we're going to give this another taste test. For final flavor adjustments, we can either put more sugar in, or more butter in, or more vanilla in. Oh, looking so luscious now. Creamier with a lot more balance. Ooh, okay. The butter actually made it less sweet. Not surprisingly, because I think fat balances out other flavors. So again, I still reduced the sugar, so even if we use all the sugar in my little cup, that's still 66% of the original amount called for. Need to stay around the area of my hotel. Okay, I have one for you. It's a soba shop. It's a soba shop near the Hearst Tower, which is near Carnegie Hall. That is the only place I've gone to. I can look it up for you. There's also a curry place right next to that soba shop. But I believe the soba shop is called Azuma. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Okay, soba noodle Azuma. It is 251 West 55th Street. And right next door is a curry rice place. So they're both Japanese cuisine. But that's the only place right near where you are that I would recommend going, because Midtown is kind of a dead place to eat. If you're willing to travel further downtown, Lower East Side, Chinatown has a lot more food to eat. But I don't know much about Midtown because I never really go to Midtown to eat. I don't make recipes anymore since I've stopped working for Delish. I'm not a recipe developer anymore. I sometimes develop a recipe or two if Burlap and Barrel needs a recipe for some reason, but I mostly don't anymore. And the soba comes in like huge servings if you want. So as far as Midtown prices go, I mean, it's not cheap, but it is a good deal, I think. Yum. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more salt, and then we're going to portion out what we're giving to our friends, and then add a little bit of cayenne into the one that Erin's gonna get. That was so simple, y'all. No eggs needed. It's not as creamy as the vanilla one, so eggs will definitely make pudding better, but if you're looking for like a relatively low-cost pudding, doesn't get easier than this. Hi, Malta. How do all these lids fit each other and not fit each other? I'm so confused. So very confused. Oh, there goes the vanilla bean. There you go. Okay, I'll save this vanilla bean in my own jar. Four friends. Four friends. No, yes? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, wait, yes. Wow, I can't count today. Holy shit, what's going on? I just had to use up grandma milk, and I offered friends some pudding, and then I thought I would try to make chocolate pudding, so I offered the same friends chocolate pudding, and they were down to eat it. So I was like, all right, let's make pudding. I figured make pudding, go on a live, give people a place to hang out while I get rid of some grandma milk and experiment with pudding. Because TBH, I like making homemade yogurt and all, but I'm kind of sick of eating yogurt sometimes. I thought, pudding could be cool to make, you know. So we're trying out making pudding with egg yolks, and we're also trying out making pudding with cornstarch only. I think so far, definitely, egg yolk makes superior pudding, but cornstarch, faster, cheaper, easier. There is a trade-off to everything. Nothing is better or worse. It just depends on what you want and how you want to pay for it, what you're willing to do to get it. which also makes me think of relationships too. How much work are you willing to put into understanding another person? You know, not everyone has the same desire and the same capability. So, all right. To this, I am going to add a little bit of cayenne for Aaron. Everybody else just gets boring chocolate pudding, but Aaron gets spicy. We're going to heat it up a little bit so that it cooks and warms up. Low heat so nothing burns. Have a great day. Thanks for dropping in. So if you had advice, and feel free to, I'm curious, but you definitely don't have to provide anything you don't feel comfortable providing, but I'd be curious, your age accompanied by something you've learned about navigating romantic relationships that you would like to tell yourself from 10 years ago. Is there anything that you've learned in the last 10 years that you would like to tell yourself from 10 years ago about what you learned from romantic relationship dynamics? Any eureka moments that changed your perspective on romantic relationships? Whether it be about romantic relationship dynamic or what your personal needs are, what your wants are, how to understand the other person, when to call it quits, any lingering regrets, any do-over moments. Learn what boundaries are and create some for yourself. Yes, I'm 34 and I'm trying to practice that too. Actually. Ooh, Doc. Can you say more about how patriarchy affects relationships? I would love to hear more about that, if you're willing to share, but that hurts my interest. I'm 35 and infatuation does not equal love. Real love is peace. I would also love to know your definition of peace, Tay, like what it looks like, what your preferred peace in a relationship looks like. 48, that I'm worth it. I'm worth the effort I put out. 22 years of marriage and didn't get that in return. Engaged now to a wonderful man who puts me as a priority. Hell fucking yeah, Kimberly. 53, getting away both together and alone really matters. There is so little time and energy in real life. Yes. Wow. How to make that possible though, when people are so busy working, you know? How to navigate balancing a relationship with your work obligations, with your paycheck obligations is hard. I realize that it's a lot to ask of people. I'm only 23, but I would tell myself not to rush to create relationships, not just romantic, but friendships. I'm in a queer platonic relationship, so no romance, but I'm glad we didn't rush into it. I've actually turned my settings on Hinge now. For the first week, I did every single gender, so they have men, women, and gender queer. I've turned off the women now because I felt like I was queer baiting because I just truly don't have historical experience of crushing on women in real life. Female celebrities, yes, but I'm starting to think about, you know, like, why did I feel that sense of shame of queer baiting? Like, what we can do within the realm of dating apps that might bleed beyond the borders of the purpose of a dating app that the app itself wanted to portray itself as. How do we use social media in ways that are not the social media company's intention? I'm just thinking about all of these things. 53, cultural backgrounds play more a part in a relationship than you might think at first. Learning that right now. Thinking about the ways in which my mom told me to date a Chinese man and how that would make it much easier. Yes. Doc says men are too much work, or culture teaches men to be privileged. Only consider dating men who have done anti-misogyny work. Ooh, I don't know what that work even looks like. I think I need to do anti-misogyny work, maybe. Spend time doing things that make you happy too. There may come a time when you will have more time with yourself than you imagine, and you need to know who you are without the relationship. Yep. Agree. Fully agree. Peace is knowing that the other person is committed to the relationship as much as you are. Amen. Ooh, amen. So during the hard times, you know you're working towards the goal of staying together. Yep. 46, to put aside fears and insecurities and simply meet people. Thinking if I could just do X or fix X first, then I'd feel ready to put myself out there. Just delayed happiness. Agree. It's really hard. I think when I was having like a lot more body image issues, doing that was hard. Putting myself out there when I felt like I didn't like myself was hard. And I think that is something worth sitting down with yourself on and thinking through and talking through, if you like talking to yourself, because I think it's so essential that you like you and you're not bringing that sort of personal doubt into a relationship, which I am very much guilty of. So that's also something that I'm trying to figure out within myself, like dating myself in a way, you know, understanding myself and what I need to confidently parent myself on to make myself feel secure within myself first. Not that I have to finish the work, but I have to be in touch with myself. Not necessarily solve myself. I might not need to solve anything, but I just need to know, hey, like, tell me what's troubling you, and have that conversation so that I know what I'm weak against in a lot of ways. All very good points. I'm gonna keep reading. Give me a sec. Trying not to have this overflow of milk cartons in my sink. Thank you for sharing all of these thoughts too. 31, I'm married to a man I met when I was 19 in the least puritanical way possible. Just grew alongside him and have always chosen to stay together because we're in love. Damn, that's so sweet. We knew each other for 2.5 years before we confirmed our relationship, which let us settle into our dynamics and who we were before knowing who we are now as a platonic couple. 38, compromise isn't the same as sacrifice. Yes, I was just talking to someone about how I think sacrifice in relationships should happen very rarely. Sometimes you definitely do have to sacrifice, but compromise should be ongoing. And compromise isn't something that like pains you to do. It's just a way of negotiating with the other person in a respectful and loving way to say, hey, I care about you. I see that we don't believe in the same things regarding this issue. Let's see where our differences are, and let's see what we can do so that both of us can carry forward in this relationship in a sustainable manner, because we're not afraid to be explicitly open with each other regarding our insecurities and our needs. Let's discuss. Basically, a compromise is a discussion, and it can be an ongoing discussion, whereas a sacrifice is just fully acknowledging, you're over there, I'm over here, one of us has to travel to the other person because we can't seem to find a middle ground. And those do happen, but I think sacrifices have a much higher potential for giving birth to resentment in time, over time. So I feel like compromising is really going to be the bulk of a relationship working out sustainably over time. And to get to compromise, both parties have to have done prerequisite work in terms of self-awareness, in terms of transparency, in terms of not holding on to shame while being transparent, in terms of knowing how to communicate your vulnerabilities, not in a way that puts pressure on the other person. And this is something I severely need to work on, is how to communicate my insecurities in a way that does not put blame on the other person, that does not make them feel like they have to fix me or help me or like hold me entirely with their own strength. This is something that I have to work on, that I've realized that I really have to work on. Age 27, it's not about looking for the right person. Many people can fit that shoe. It's about committing to the person you've chosen and growing with them. Agree. Absolutely, I agree with that. I'm going to start licking the spoon and this whisk. And maybe I'll make a coffee version now, but I'm not sure yet. Choose something to be all in about together if you can. Interesting. Sad of how many Lego sets around here are not done. No kids at home. The thing that is the best is we see each other deeply, but we are so worn out. Pain, medical stuff, need a break from capitalism for sure. Capitalism kills relationships, y'all. Capitalism kills connection. That's what capitalism excels at, is killing connection. Because the less connected you are, the weaker you are. Because when you're not standing together, they only have to attack one of you, and the weakest link gives in, and they break the whole chain of solidarity. So how do you navigate building relationships, not just romantic ones, but community-oriented ones, from 1 + 1 individual to 1 + 10 individual to a whole village? Like, it sounds woo-woo, I know, and it only sounds woo-woo because we're so not used to being in community anymore. I think if I heard myself say all of this a year ago, I would have been like, oh, she's turned hippie. But more and more, I think the word community over the last year has begun to take on way more fleshed meaning in my brain, just in terms of using that word over and over again in farm school and seeing that word emerge in people, strangers, coming together to like wheat paste for Palestine, to create tax strike zines and do research together. Even if it doesn't make a difference, like we're still coming together to try to figure out solutions. I think it's better than not coming together and not trying to figure out solutions, because not all solutions will work, and it's really easy to dismiss solutions as like a waste of energy, which I've felt like before. I've seen other people feel before, like, why are you doing this? You could be doing so much more with your time. And I agree. But guess what? We're so out of shape right now, especially when it comes to politics and political participation, that any step you take is a step out of the status quo. So I'm not going to judge people for taking on actions that don't seem to have major effects.
that's just what they are capable of doing right now. So if I don't feel like participating, then I don't participate in that action. But other people are participating, and that's what we need to see more of, is participate in your community, participate in the causes you believe in, and participate in the relationships you want to build in your life. And I think the saddest part for me is knowing that, like, the other person in the relationship tapped out and was not able to continue figuring things out with me. And that made me go through a whole cycle of, oh, I'm too much, I'm asking for too much, maybe I should stop asking for too much, maybe I should let go of my ideals. And I think there's validity to all of those thoughts too. I think I should let go of some of my ideals, because ideals can become too heavy and burdensome and solidify into obstacles, into actually making progress. If I say every action I take must end in a ceasefire for Palestine, then absolutely I will give up taking any action whatsoever. And I would say in the first 3 months, my mindset was absolutely more in the vein of everything has to lead to an immediate ceasefire. And reality tells you over time that ceasefires do not happen because the system wants the wars to continue. So, how do you make it sustainable? How do you navigate this discrepancy and difference and incompatibility in a sustainable way? How do you make it so that every step fills you up and feeds you in some way, instead of just being a pure action of investment in the future? How do you become present in trying to work out solutions while you make mistakes and trial and error through all the permutations of what you can and can't do? So again, all of this is just me trying to lessen the mental burden and emotional burden and psychological wear and tear on myself of feeling like I've failed once again. Failed to bring about change, failed to be the better person, failed to be good enough to stay in a relationship, just all the feelings of failure rushing in. How do I parent myself and tell myself that, hey, you're good. It didn't work out, but you're learning. And there will be other chances, and there will be other people. And I think back to that moment where I broke down the day before my AP US History and Government exam, and my mom was just like, hey, you either take the test or you don't. And if you want to take the test, and you want to do well on it, then spend this day studying to the best of your ability and just do the test. And if you don't want to do the test, then stop caring about it right now and don't let it get you down. And you know, up until this moment, I've told this story so many times now, but I never really realized that what my mom said to me that day became a life philosophy of sorts for myself. And I think I always attributed my life philosophy to myself, but everything came from mom in a way, you know? Everything that I believe in is distilled from everything that I took in from my environment, a lot of which was my mom. She was the only stable figure in my life over the years, over the immigration experiences, over the changes. And I've been thinking back to my first therapist telling me that I have to be able to separate my own anxieties from my mom's anxieties, that I can't just take on my mom's worries and identify them as my own. And that was maybe in 2014 or 2015 or 2016 max. So it's been 8+ years. And I'm just starting to understand, 2 years after my mom's death, that it is possible to separate her anxieties from my anxieties, that I do not have to hold on to things that I've always believed in, that I can let go of things that I don't want to believe in anymore. Because I think what capitalism also excels at is giving us this very stagnant identity, making us believe that we are only real people if we never change. And not only do we have to be good, whatever they define good as, we have to continue being good all the time until we die. Otherwise, if we do bad things, then we become bad people. And you don't want to be a bad person, do you? And I think that's where my shame comes from. All of my shame over the years. And how easy it is to build up shame, to build up feelings of inadequacy and being a bad person and not fitting in as an immigrant. Because the immigrant experience is to not fit in. That's what it means to be transplanted into a completely foreign land and culture and people and environment. The air is different, the food is different, the sounds and the tastes and the animals and the plants are different. How do you expect to be the same? How do you expect to be stable through all these changes? How do you expect to come out of the COVID-19 pandemic as the same person you went in? How do I expect myself to be the same person after the death of my mom? How can I be the same person with the same beliefs after seeing the last 4 months go down? I'm 44, bald, fat, no great job prospects, mild alcoholic, insecure, no confidence, not sure how I can change. Maybe you don't need to change. Or rather, what would you like to change and for whom are you changing? Along the same line, divide and conquer. I'm better at certain things like a lot of home maintenance and planning, but I will expect to hide upstairs when he talks to the fridge repair guy. That's cute. Yeah, knowing your strengths and weaknesses and supporting each other because you're a team. How do you function as a team? How do you communicate to the other person and feel safe and comfortable around them to let them know exactly what you would like and need? And not to say that to expect them to fulfill your every desire and need, but to just be able to communicate that so the other person knows how far they can walk, how far they're willing to walk to meet you halfway there. And halfway is just a metaphor. It's not always halfway. Sometimes one person walks 100% of the way. Sometimes they walk 20% of the way. Depends on the situation, depends on the priority of need, but all of that is founded in being able to communicate with each other. There can be no shame in a relationship that is stable. There has to be acceptance and admiration and a respect for the other person's agency and also a respect for the differences that exist. And I think maybe in my past, maybe in my very recent past, I've tried too hard to make the other person change so that they can communicate the way I want them to communicate. But I think moving forward, I'll just have to understand that some people aren't where you are and they can't communicate the way that you want them to communicate, and it depends on the two people to decide if that's a hurdle that you want to jump together over or not. And not to beat yourself over things not working out because of two people not being able to meet each other in the middle. 40, don't let your partner and relationship be your everything. You can't depend on anyone but yourself to make you happy. 22, love is not just letting others walk all over me for money, attention, a person to vent to, etc. I am not a husk to be filled or told to do things. I am a person too. This was due to low self-worth. Anastasia, you're 22 and you learned all this, girl. Like, props. Props. My relationship self-awareness was like 2% of that at 22. It's not holding you on their part, it's holding space for you to be vulnerable. Yeah, I don't expect you to fix everything for me, but I would like you to hear me out and to understand where I'm at. Just understand me. I think we all just want to be understood. And it is really hard to understand another person when there are so many differences standing in between. But it is not impossible if you're interested and willing, and it makes you content to be brought closer together to your partner through understanding them, especially if there are differences standing in the way. Because in order to understand your partner over your differences or through your differences, that's like a whole other level of understanding. And it shows commitment. A lot of our culture conditioning tells us men are easier to date and flirt with. To be honest, that itself is internalized misogyny. Yep. Parts work therapy has been helpful for me in building skills and behaviors to practice self-esteem and worth. I have been hearing about parts work therapy. I have not looked into it yet. I don't know much about it, but thank you for the reminder. June, why do most Americans think that Israel is in the right? Most Americans don't. But the ones who are running the government and the money and the institutions are supported by this capitalistic circle jerk. Sell weapons to Israel. Israel funds the government and these institutions. Support Israel's colonization of Palestine, and you get a foothold in the Middle East. There's also oil involved. There's also real estate development involved. There's a lot of money to be made. So people who want to make money want Israel to win because they want to make money. Now, what I can't figure out is what the fuck they're all going to do with this blood money. What is it exactly that makes you want this money so bad that you're willing to kill, some numbers say, 100,000 people? Because not only are there confirmed deaths, there's bodies trapped under rubble who are probably dead now. There are the missing who are probably dead now. There are the people who are diseased, starving to death. So, yeah, my question is, what makes you hunger for capital this much that doing this is worth it to you? And how does your brain work that you can stomach this? Because I can't stomach it. I've just imagined myself in the role of a politician and weapons manufacturer. I can't. At least Joe Biden is a sharp cookie. Yeah, about that. The best thing one can do for all romantic relationships is touch yourself a lot when alone and together. Explore your own body's likes and dislikes before including each other, so shame doesn't play a role. For those who are not sex averse by orientation or choice, yeah, I would say that is a huge part. How to get over your shame when it comes to sexuality, sexual preferences, sexual inexperience, that is something that I've dealt with. A lot of shame, a lot of internal shame. A lot of shame keeps you in place. And a lot of shame keeps you out of transparency and keeps you away from communication and prohibits understanding each other mutually. I gave up on romantic relationships, but I'm working on opening up to platonic relationships. Do you think you overthink things, June? 100,000%. And I think it's exhausting for some people. And that's why I think it would take a very particular type of person to have a sustainable romantic relationship with me. But I have come to enjoy my ability to overthink things. I'm now learning how to give myself a break from overthinking things, because that also is unsustainable, right? I overthink enough times for a long enough period of time that it becomes rumination and it becomes damaging for me to continue. So how do I take breaths in between the thoughts? How do I keep it and not ostracize it, but also balance it out with just observation? I have a question about grief. How do you manage your perception of your mom now that she's gone? I'm in the same boat. It's tough to manage the loss and what's happened. I think it changes with time, for sure. When she first died, I had a few moments where I was like, damn, I have to call mom to tell her that, oh wait, she died. You know? You still think of the person as being here because you're so used to having them in your life. And recently I have had those moments too, but much less frequently. My perception of my mom is that she was experiencing a lot of stress and pain in her life that she was not open about. She could not tell me. She did not want to tell me. I think she was ridden by shame too. And I think the way that I interact with her is to say, here's all the things that mom did that I don't think worked out for her. So let's try to not do what mom did, and let's try to be kinder to ourselves, and let's try to ask for help, and let's try to get that mutual assistance going in relationships of all sorts in our lives so that we don't feel that loneliness and isolation that mom felt. I keep her alive in my mind by saying, hey mom, let's try this alternative thing now. I think what you did didn't really work out the way you wanted it to or intended it to. So how about we try something else? And I almost like hold her in all of my choices. And it's almost like sharing with her, like sharing my existence with her and hoping that she can see me live out an alternative. I think of mom and I grapple with the fact that I won't ever know her 100% because there are just different parts of her that she showed to different people in her life. And there are parts of her that she never showed anyone else. Not her doctor, not her brother, not me. So I have to let that mystery of not knowing somehow give me comfort as a source of beautiful blankness rather than let it become a black hole that sucks me into despair. So many good comments. Thank you all for sharing. Let's see. Celia says, do I want to be a bad person? Well, no. And the system does not get to define good and bad for me. Yes. How do you define good and bad for yourself? Because if you define good and bad by what the system says, then you will always be bad in some respects. Because the system does not even agree what's good and what's bad. Isn't that right, Tuna? Hi, Tuna. Hi, baby. Tuna is my friend Devin's cat. He's away for the weekend, so Tuna's staying with me until Monday. Yeah. What's up? You bored? You bored? You want a toy? What if we fetch a toy? You want to fetch a toy? Want to fetch a toy? This one? That one? How about that one? None of them? Tuna. Congratulations, Del, on your reunion going public. Woohoo! Tuna is very adorable. She's very well behaved, and we cannot keep Tuna. But there are many other cats we can keep. I think maybe I will just lean into my cat lady phase now, you know? If I'm not meant for human relationships, then I'm not meant for human relationships. And that's that. She just went back to her food. She's eating her food now again. See? Be like Tuna. Stop eating when you know that you're full and then go back to it. She doesn't have a scarcity mindset like Fred. And I think I identified with Fred a lot, given my disordered eating background and my issues with food. But Tuna is my role model, you know? Who likes congealed pudding? I do. Guys, you know, this other day, I realized the tiniest amount of progress within me, and then I realized how big it was, because it was not just like a tiny step, but it was a change in my mentality. I was at a grocery store, and I saw turbinado sugar on sale, and I was like, damn, that sugar is $1 a pound. Usually in my area, it would be like $1.50 or $2 a pound. I should totally buy this bag of sugar because it's cheaper. Like, that was my instinct, you know? It's a good deal, grab it. I don't care how far you have to carry it. And I saw this sugar when I was on my way to do weight pasting. So, like, obviously not a smart decision to carry around 2 bags of sugar when you're doing wheat pasting. So I had a conversation in my head that took place in like 8 to 10 seconds, basically. That was like, girl, you're saving $1 off of the unit price for what? To carry around a bag of sugar for the next 2 hours while you're doing an activity that requires you to be on your feet, and then you have to take the subway home and haul it? Like, just spend the extra $1 or $1.50 and buy it closer to home on a day when you don't have to be out and about doing things. And I didn't buy the sugar. And this is the kind of mentality that I think I have to really nurture, right? And is it like abandoning myself in a sort of way? Yes and no, right? Why do I let my habits define me, I think? Where do we get the perception of the self from? You know? Why do we let our history and our past dictate the validity of our present selves and the stability of our future selves? My circumstances in life have changed. I should change with them rather than staying the same. So going back to the earlier question of navigating thoughts about my mom after she's dead, Mom's no longer here, but in a way, she and I are closer than ever. Because she's not physically here, I call on her memory and her teachings and her sayings and memories of her every day, almost. She's with me in every action that I do. And in a lot of ways, grief is the same no matter who or what it's for. It can be grief for myself. It can be grief for my mom. It can be grief for a past partner. There are times when I'm just going about my day and I open up a window and I think about the times that I spent with my recent ex near my window. And it makes me sad because like that relationship is done, and I'm sad because I can't have that kind of moment anymore. But in a way, I'm having this memory. And not only do I have the memories that happened, but because of my ongoing grief, I can recall moments that never happened as a sort of future memory. So that's kind of what I wrote about in my Instagram post last night. I was high, but that was an idea that like really comforted me. I think about my mom too, when I eat certain things, when I go to certain places that I frequented with her, things that she would like to enjoy tasting and trying and sampling with me. Everyone that we come in contact with, especially if we love them, we come to identify with. And no matter whether or not you are still physically with them, they become integrated into you. Consciously and unconsciously. I think that's what it means to choose to be in a relationship. Is this the person that you want to become more of? Do you want to become more like them? And I guess I did. And he didn't. And that's when you have to respect the other person's choice. So, all these thoughts. Pain is an ingredient. Hopelessness can be one too. All of these feelings are transitory, passing through. And sometimes, if you want to, you can allow them to take you someplace else, and you can transform with those feelings together. Okay, I'm gonna clean this pot. I think I want to try to make a little bit of coffee pudding just for funsies. But I also actually want to address a comment that came through on one of my previous lives. And let me just pull up that comment right now, actually, so you guys can start chatting about it, and then I'll come back to your comments if you want to chat about it while I do my pot dishes. But it was one of those comments where I read it and I immediately started to feel myself wanting to like be sad and cry and curl up. So it's an important comment because I think it struck something. I think it was on the Wednesday Mento and Vanilla live. Let me just see. Pause that. Okay, I'm going to copy and, oh, this might max out the character limit, actually. But let me try. Oh yeah. All right, I'll just read it. You ready? I'm sorry, but why are you so desperate for a boyfriend? You're asexual, you don't have sex. You just want companionship. You're always talking about your friends. Move in with a friend that you love that will talk you through your feelings and give you attention and hug you. It's just weird to hear about you always desperately searching for a boyfriend when you don't do or don't like most of the things that being in a romantic relationship entails. You just need a very close friend. If none of your friends fit this description, that's what you should be searching for. You don't need a boyfriend. Legitimately, how would a boyfriend differ from a close friendship in your life? So I'm actually gonna post this in a few chunks, I think, because I think there's a lot that we can learn from here. So that's one. That's two. That's three. That's four. That's five. I had character limits, but let's just sit with it for a while and let's think through it, because I think there are points that were very insensitive and actually inaccurate that were made in there, but there were also some very valid questions that I think are worth digging into for me, because some of these elements within this comment have been thoughts that I've been thinking about for over a decade. So we're going to use this as a learning experience, right? We're not here to attack the person. We're not here to defend me or protect me. We're here purely to learn. Because I think the reason why I put myself out there is because not only do I want to be seen and understood and appreciated and loved for who I am, because that's all we want, right? I also want to learn. I want to learn from the friction that arises from different perspectives. No, Aaron definitely would not write that. He definitely loves and cares for me too much to write that. Why would he write that? I also think Crispy Cheese Toasty is our troll of the day, eh? Welcome, troll. Glad to have you here with us. I didn't step in earlier with the romantic advice, but to myself 10 years ago, my advice would be you literally don't even want to be in a relationship. What do you mean by that? Tell us. What does a romantic relationship mean to you, and what don't you want from it? Or just all of it? You don't want all of it. I'm fascinated. Only if you want to, Gary, but I am truly fascinated by that one. Because maybe I should also be realizing that perhaps I don't want to be in a relationship. I'm not sure yet. You'll sit this one out. You're stuck in June defense mode. See, that's also knowing your own boundaries. I so appreciate that. Thank you for making known your boundaries and being honest and transparent. In a lot of ways, like, our chat dynamic has modeled for me so many different options for communication, and it's kind of low stakes learning because to a large degree y'all are all strangers, right? But y'all are also very real people, so what a wonderful learning opportunity. Using the word desperate in general is just mean-spirited. I agree with that. Tone was condescending and accusatory, even if there were some valid points, yes. Partnership and friendship are different things and can look different. If you had this close friend, what if they found a traditional romantic partner? How does that work then? Yup. Friendships can be partnerships, but a lot of the time platonic friendships are under-respected. Fascinating. Yes, I agree. Gary says, in my 20s, I felt like it was weird that I wasn't in a romantic relationship, but as I got older, I realized that my friend network was like all the love and commitment I felt dedicated to. Yeah. And in a way, it would be unfair to just casually enter relationships with such a lack of commitment. Valid. That's knowing what you need, right? That's learning over time what you wanted. I am not in June defense mode, but I am still upset by it because my partner is ace, which is perhaps why I feel called to try to break it down. I agree. There's a lot of misconceptions in that comment about what the ace identity could be. Again, maybe this person saw my ace video, maybe they didn't see it very carefully, but I tried to make the point that not everyone's asexual experience is the same. Monolithic identities are hurtful, right? So just because I'm Chinese doesn't mean that all Chinese people think like me. In fact, I went on a date this week and he was like, you're 100% Western, but you behave like an Asian mom. And I was like, okay, so I'm not 100% Western, right? So like, how do you allow for difference within an identity? The fact that this person said, why are you so desperate for a boyfriend? Yes and no. I am desperate in a lot of ways because I think, and this is something that I might need to work on changing my mentality about, I think about the romantic partner as this person who can become a stable part of my life to give me the support and the companionship that I never had as a kid growing up as an immigrant through different moves and changes in my life. And especially now that my mom's gone, I think, it would be so nice to have someone in my life who's stable enough, who can be with me more, not 24/7 off the bat, but hopefully somewhat 24/7, at least in terms of emotional connection, if not physical distance. But second sentence, you're asexual, you don't need sex. Currently, I align more with demisexual. And secondly, I don't need sex, but nobody really needs sex. Like, nobody will die if you don't have sex. You can always masturbate if you really feel the itch. You know what I mean? But I think sex also means different things to people. This is actually doing a great disservice to what sex could be. Sex is a physical act. It can bring about physical pleasure, but sex is also very much about emotional bonding and communication. And I love communication. So the part of sex that has to do with communication and emotional bonding is the part that attracts me most to having sex with someone, because having sex with someone in that way is a way to further my connection to them, which is ultimately what I desire the most. You just want companionship. Yes, I do. No notes on that. You're always talking about your friends. Move in with a friend that you love that will talk with you through your feelings and give you attention and hug you. Isn't that what a partner could be? Also, what friend is just gonna drop their life and move in with me, It's just weird to hear you always desperately searching for a boyfriend when you don't do or don't like most of the things that being in a romantic relationship entails. There's a lot in this sentence. What does a romantic relationship entail? What are these things going through the commenter's head? Are all romantic relationships composed of the same elements? I don't think so. But maybe if you're going by the storybook of what society wants you to believe a romantic relationship is, then okay, you can guess at it. But how do you know how I behave in a romantic relationship? I've told you various aspects of me, but I haven't told you all of me. So, fascinating. You just need a very close friend. Sure. And I have very close friends. But maybe I want closer friends. If none of your friends fit this description, that's what you should be searching for. Yeah, I'm 2 birds, 1 stoning. If I can find a friend who can be a friend and also a boyfriend, then that would be great. And if I can't find a boyfriend, then I'm still open to finding friends, which is why I'm totally down and totally welcoming to staying friends with my exes. Because my rationale is, if I've loved you and I still do, and I care for you and I appreciate you as a person, and you've taught me a lot, and I believe you can still continue to teach me just through you being you and me being exposed to you, then why not maintain contact and develop our bond in a slightly different fashion? You don't need a boyfriend. Legitimately, how would a boyfriend differ from a close friendship in your life? And this is the question that I've had ever since college. What is the difference between a really close friendship and a romantic relationship, besides the physical intimacy part? I think there is some romantic yearning, maybe limerence, especially in the beginning. There is this sort of fairy tale romance that we play into that's perpetuated by media. It feels a little bit like an addiction, like a little bit of a, serotonin adrenaline boost. All those hormones that light up in your brain, they say that sugar acts like a drug does, and they say that love acts like a drug does. So that's how a boyfriend differs from a close friendship in my life, It's kind of a drug habit. And that's how relationships can turn toxic if you keep chasing that drug high. Because eventually, love from that drug high status will shift to a different sort of love that becomes more companionship based and more understanding and more plateaued in its emotional highs and lows. I think a romantic relationship has the ability to show you a more wide variety of attachment and connection and love and hate. And also, a romantic relationship is a place where I've been able to open myself up to self-reflection, because it brings me closer to a person in a way that I can't avoid myself. And so, yes, relationships have shown me very undesirable and ugly parts of myself because it's highlighted when a relationship runs into obstacles or conflict or breaks down. But that's the same thing as putting myself on the internet and opening myself up to all these comments that can be supportive and can also be highly critical. It makes me think about things. I think being in a romantic relationship allows me to think about things that a platonic friendship doesn't. So for all of these reasons and probably more, I don't think I'm desperately searching for a boyfriend, but I'm back on Hinge because one, I want to stop my rumination on the relationship that just ended, and this is a way to meet new people and hear new perspectives and just open myself up to socialization so that I'm not trapped within my own brain and beating myself up until I'm a pulp. And two, who knows, like I hope to find someone who's willing and able and happy to be my partner, but my main objective is actually just to use Hinge as a sort of therapy. Microdosing the drug that brought me pain and happiness again, with a slightly different mindset than the one that I'm in now. Is it healthy? I think so. Maybe there are other opinions. Maybe others will just say I'm using it for a rebound or to distract. And yeah, I am using it to distract. My intention isn't to find a person to rebound against, but I guess I'm sort of using the open market of humans in New York City as a way to mentally rebound. And I think I've made it very clear to everyone. I've always made it clear that I'm demisexual, and I'm making it clear to everyone that I match and talk with that I'm just freshly out of a relationship and that I'm more inclined towards meeting people with the foundation set in friendship for now. I have it on my profile. Actually, let me pull up my profile and let me tell you what I wrote in terms of so there's a prompt that asks you what you're searching for in terms of relationships, and I wrote life partner, and it also asks you to fill in more details if you want, and I said let's friend zone first. Unconventional, maybe reduces desirable romantic tension, but sets a more honest, depressurized foundation for understanding each other. And in terms of relationship style, I wrote monogamy, comma, figuring out my relationship type. And for the addendum, I wrote in monogamous relationships are most quote-unquote natural to me, but I think it ultimately depends on the person and connection and circumstances. Let's discuss your preferences. So I'm just kind of remaining open to the people that show up. It's really cool to see people actually read the profile sometimes. Most, I think, don't. And it was really cute because 3 of my previous matches from my last round of Hinge ended up matching me again to say hi and to check in. So New York City, the dating pool is getting smaller and smaller, y'all. It's almost as if I have Hinge friends. It's really funny. So not everything has to be that serious, even though when a relationship ends or when somebody passes away, it immediately feels like your world is crumbling, and it is. But then after you rest, you can slowly build it back up at your own pace with a new foundation if you so choose. And that's kind of what happened when my mom passed away. All of the foundations were kind of shaken and deconstructed, and then I looked at the pieces and I said, and I still continue to do this, what pieces do I want back in here and what pieces do I want to let go of, and how do I want this new structure to look like? And I don't have to know all the answers of what I want from the very beginning and the get-go, but I think it's important for me to keep that in mind, that I don't have to stay the same, that I can keep opting into and out of different things. Try things out. Looking back at some of your comments while we make a new batch of pudding. Huzzah. Okay, so I made this coffee sugar a while ago. I literally just ground coffee beans into sugar. So I think we're gonna try to make some coffee pudding with this. I'm going to use the same chocolate pudding recipe that we just used. It would taste better with egg yolks. I just truly don't feel like egg yolks right now. But we're gonna go a little bit less on everything and try to make a half batch so that I don't have a shit ton of pudding sitting around in my fridge. Although not a bad thing, I guess. So let's go for 5 tablespoons of sugar. I guess that was more sugar, huh? Oops. All right, maybe we'll up the milk a little bit to compensate for that extra sugar that I totally was not aware of doing. We're gonna go in with cornstarch. Some salt. I'm kind of having the recipe at this point. So we'll just use 3 cups of milk. Heat on. And now we're coming back to your comments. Okay. Can I recommend a book? Celia says. Playing Well with Others by Haas and Harrington. It does have a big kink aspect, and many of the questions apply regardless of what kind of things you enjoy. Interesting. Let me copy that and Google search it so I remember it later. Thank you for the suggestion. Media really did a number on a lot of people's ideas about relationships, myself included. Agree, Jan. MPA4E says, quote, you don't do what romantic relationships entails. They see it as a transaction, and from what I gather, June, you see relationships as interactions, which is to some unfathomable. Do you want to explain that a little bit, actually? I wonder what the difference in reality looks like for a transactional versus an interactional relationship. I wonder if this is something that I can like explain to future potential partners as a way to explain myself so that they understand me better. I think this person has mistaken romance with sex. Often they can overlap, but they are distinct experiences. Absolutely agree. Partners are also about prioritizing too. There's an agreed up relationship that may have commitments that friendships don't. Yep. If I have a friendship that's that close and that I expect them to like live with me and give me companionship, then I also have to negotiate the terms of that. In a way, that is turning a platonic friendship into a sort of relationship. That also requires the same amount of work that you would put into a romantic relationship, because no matter if it's romantic or platonic, the deeper you go to develop that emotional bond, the more negotiations have to take place so that two people are on the same page together. I do firmly believe that most times, when it doesn't come to capitalism, you get what you put in. So, you know, a relationship doesn't just organically happen to be unproblematic. You have to make it so that it's unproblematic. Because we are all kind of filled with problems, especially when the other person doesn't understand us and our differences. Then the problems become even bigger from their perception because it's foreign and strange and unable to be understood in a lot of ways. Bye, Tay. You're on the A spectrum and you have found a lovely, secure, long-term relationship with a younger man. Yeah, you know what? There are younger people matching with me. They're like 29. I don't know what it is. They're all 29 who match with me. I think it's because that's how the bottom of my age range that I've set. I don't want to date anyone younger than me by 5 years, but even 29 feels too young. But hey, who knows? Not all romantic relationships are sexual as well, but most are probably. Yeah, I think I identify with which paper's sexual orientation the most. Romantic, but gray ace. So there are some coffee grounds in here. It won't be the smoothest pudding. But there will be pudding, I hope. And my battery's about to run out in about 10 minutes, so that's how long this live will last. Enjoy being here together. I think I want a little bit more coffee. Yeah, darker color, please. And I'm also going to put back in this vanilla bean from our chocolate pudding. Okay, first of all, non-native speakers to English who always comment on my posts have like amazingly perfect grammar, like better than native speaker English speakers, so thank you for doing your best. Transactional would entail the promise of a preset unconditional action and reaction with a defined endgame, marriage, children. Aha. Yes. Not a fan of that. But I do want a sort of commitment to long-term partnership if both parties feel like it's a match. You know, I would think that that's part of what I want. I think more people just have to be open to the possibility of difference. All these folks in the comments saying how their alternative style or less mainstream style of relationships work for them, you know, is evidence of what is possible. Interactional to me is an authentic development of your relationship as it comes along with commitment to said authenticity. I mean, goddamn, you are eloquent. And yes, that is what I ideally want in a relationship. Now, am I doing my part to get to that kind of authentic development and commitment? I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now in this period of transition and rest and reflection. But that is my end goal. That is what I want. Authentic development of my relationship as it comes along with commitment to said authenticity. There should be honesty at every point of the relationship, and I think it has become solidified with the experience of this most recent relationship that if I cannot have transparency at every stage of the relationship, then that is not the partner for me. That's not to say that all partners in all relationships having to deal with other people's dynamics have to have the degree of transparency that I want in my relationship. That's just saying that in my relationship, in my romantic relationship, in my ideal romantic relationship, that is a non-negotiable. I don't want my partner to have all the same opinions and backgrounds as me. I want to be able to learn from them. But I also want both of us to be on the same page about being different and about acknowledging that difference and not letting it be like a negative thing and more of it being something that I can learn from. And I think maybe that's what this most recent relationship has taught me, and what a valuable lesson it has been for me to realize this. That difference can be really fucking beautiful if both parties are welcoming it as a learning component to being together. So I just want someone to learn with me. I want someone to find interest and intrigue in me, and I want them to be open to learning alongside me who I am, because I don't really know 100% who I am. I have a good idea. I like to think I know who I am, but with every person that I interact deeply and sincerely and vulnerably with, I learn more about myself. And I think that's kind of the beauty of a lot of relationships, but especially for me, romantic relationships, because I like to put so much trust in them. That they are basically an experience that mirrors myself more clearly than I can mirror myself. So I get to see myself from someone else's perspective. Celia says, transparency is a curious question. What if I don't know myself? Is discovering me part of transparency? Yes, absolutely. I want to discover you as you discover you. I want to discover ourselves together. And I want you to feel comfortable letting me know how you're discovering yourself and what you're finding. I want you to feel safe with me. And if you don't feel safe with me, that's a problem. Then we have to address why you don't feel safe with me. There are some very unsavory aspects that I have to open up in every single romantic, intimate, vulnerable relationship. Parts of myself that I don't like, parts of my upbringing that make me feel ugly and bad. I have those. I have shame. I deal with guilt. I'm working through them, and I'm learning how to release myself from the identities that I don't want to hold on to anymore. And I'm learning how to forgive myself, which is so much easier said than done. It is so easy to say, just separate yourself from your thoughts. It takes a lot. There are some very foundational blocks to me accepting myself as is, to me forgiving myself as is, to me letting go of my actions and letting go of judging myself for every single misstep that I take, especially when it hurts another person and I can see it hurting another person. But I guess I just have to be able to find people who don't get hurt as easily, because maybe they've done enough work with themselves that they understand what it means to hate yourself and to forgive yourself, and they understand that not everything that I do is a reflection on them, that more often than not my actions are a reflection on myself. Two pigeons are making out on your windowsill right now because they want to remind you how fucking lonely you are. That's why. Because they're assholes. I don't think I put enough cornstarch in here. Whoops. But guess what? We can still taste whether or not it's sweet enough. Maybe. Oh yeah, we definitely need to put more cornstarch in here. Whoopsies. Whoopsie dozy. Wow. Good flavor. Needs something though. It needs something for sure. Not sure what. But something. Alright. Adding a little bit of cornstarch to a bowl. Then we have to make sure that we're not putting it directly in there because it will clump. Okay guys, I think we need some maple syrup. I think that's what this one needs. What should I do with a discounted bag of cherries that aren't very fresh? Are they moldy? Are they rotting? Are they soft? Because then you shouldn't eat them. I know. But, do they taste good? Or do they taste bland? Bake them. Alright, I'm gonna have to hop off very soon because my phone's running out of battery, but hopefully with this added cornstarch, we'll have coffee pudding. Anyway, thanks for hearing me work out my inner thoughts. Happy weekend, y'all. You did it. You survived another week. You need to add some lime juice or lemon juice and probably roast them with some sugar. Any fruit juice to help give them a fruitier flavor. You could also puree them and cook it down with some sugar and add a little bit of lemon juice as they come off the heat and make it into like a cherry compote or cherry jam. Oh yeah, much better. Much better texture. Thank you all for all of your input and ideas and teachings and life shares. Always fantastic to chat about shame. And the only way to get rid of shame is to acknowledge and hold it and tell it there is nothing wrong with experiencing shame. We good? I think we're good. See ya. Eat your vitamins.